The Galactic Council Hall stood like a shining jewel in the void. Inside, hundreds of alien races filled the air with whispers and arguments. Billions across the galaxy were watching live, a historic moment that would decide the fate of one small, strange planet. At the center of the hall, the human ambassador stood alone. His name was Admiral Jonas Hale, and his eyes were cold as steel. Before him floated the Council's speaker, a tall, silver-skinned being from the Valari Empire. "Earth," the speaker began, his voice echoing through the chamber, "has violated the peace accords. You have interfered in wars, broken trade laws, and created weapons far beyond what was allowed." The hall murmured in approval. Every alien leader looked down at the human with disdain. "You humans," said the speaker, "are reckless, dangerous, too unpredictable for this council. By unanimous vote, Earth is hereby expelled from the Galactic Union." The entire hall erupted in noise. Some cheered, some stayed silent, a few even smiled in relief. No one wanted humans in their galaxy anymore, but Admiral Hale did not flinch. He stood still for several seconds, letting the noise fade away. Then he looked up at the thousands of eyes staring down on him. His words were quiet, but they carried across the entire hall. "You'll regret this." And with that, he turned and walked out. Within hours, all human ships withdrew from Council space. Earth's ambassadors, traders, and scientists vanished from every colony and every world. No signals, no communication, no warnings. The humans simply disappeared. The Council celebrated. They thought peace would finally return, that the problem of humanity was gone forever. But not everyone was happy. In a dim corner of the Council Hall, Admiral Threx of the Varn Dominion watched the humans leave. He whispered to his aide, "A species that builds weapons like theirs doesn't just walk away. They're planning something." His aide laughed nervously. "Humans, they're finished. Without the Council's technology, they'll fall back into chaos." Threx said nothing. He simply stared at the fading light of the human envoy ship and muttered, "We should be afraid." Years passed, then decades, then centuries. 200 years later, the galaxy had changed. Empires rose and fell. Wars came and went. The Council grew richer and fatter, its members proud and lazy. To most of the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than an old story, a forgotten planet with a violent past. Some called it the Ghost World. Others said it was destroyed by its own weapons. No one knew the truth. No one remembered Admiral Hale's warning. Then one day it happened. On the edge of known space, deep in the dark between galaxies, a small listening post detected something strange. A signal, week-old but unmistakable. Technician Raltek stared at his console. The signal was coming from the direction of the Sol system, the home of Earth. He frowned. That region had been dead for centuries. Nothing survived there. Probably just static, his commander said. But Raltek didn't agree. He enhanced the signal layer by layer until letters began to appear on the screen. Old human code. Binary patterns that hadn't been seen in generations. The words translated to, "We remember." Raltek's hands trembled. He ran to his superior. "Sir, it's real." "It's a human transmission." The commander frowned. "That's impossible. Earth is gone." Raltek swallowed hard. Then who sent this? Within days, the entire council knew. A human signal had been detected, while faint but genuine. Some laughed it off. A ghost transmission, they said. Others were nervous. Admiral Threx, now old, his scales faded with age, listened to the recording in silence. When he heard the message, he closed his eyes. "It begins," he whispered. Meanwhile, far beyond council space, in the cold silence of a hidden sector, thousands of dark shapes moved. They were ships, massive, silent, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each vessel bore a single glowing mark, a burning red circle, wrapped in iron wings, the new emblem of Earth. Inside the lead ship, a voice spoke over the comms. 2 centuries they called us dangerous. They were right. Admiral Jonas Hale's recorded voice echoed across the fleet as the engines came alive. The stars reflected off the armor of 1,000 warships as they prepared to enter hyperspace. Humanity had not died. It had evolved. It had waited. And now it was ready to return. The signal spread like wildfire. Within hours, every intelligence network in the galaxy had copies of it. A short transmission. Human code, only 2 words. "We remember." Most governments called it fake. Some said it was an old recording. But deep down, in the minds of soldiers and commanders who knew what humanity was capable of, fear began to grow. The Galactic Council tried to calm the panic. In a broadcast across the core worlds, the council speaker stood before billions and smiled. "Citizens of the Union," he said, "there is no cause for concern. The humans are gone. The message is only a fragment of old data. Do not be afraid." But behind closed doors, that same speaker wasn't smiling. He slammed his hand on the table. "Find where that signal came from," he growled. "I want every ship in that sector scanned. If humans are still out there, we end it this time." 3 days later, a small patrol ship from the Valari Empire, the Seeker, entered the dead zone near the Sol system. The void was silent, filled only with drifting debris and frozen asteroids. Lieutenant Raltek, the same officer who first detected the signal, was now aboard the ship. His captain didn't like the mission. "Dead space," he muttered. "I hate ghost stories." Raltek watched the scanner screen carefully. He didn't believe this was a ghost story. Something about the signal felt alive, like someone wanted them to find it. For hours they searched. Then the ship's AI chimed softly. "Unidentified structure detected. Distance 0.3 light-years." Everyone leaned forward. On the screen appeared a metallic sphere, massive and cracked, orbiting a dark star. "It wasn't natural. It looked built. Could be a derelict station," said the captain. "Send a drone," Raltek ordered. The drone drifted close, and suddenly the structure lit up. Thousands of small lights came alive across its surface. "Old human design, by the stars," whispered Raltek. "It's a beacon," said the captain, his voice shaking. "It's human." The drone sent back one final transmission before it was destroyed by a sudden burst of energy. The ship's systems flickered, alarms blaring. On the main screen, text appeared in burning red letters. "We remember, do you?" Then the lights went out. Hours later, the Seeker drifted out of the dark zone, silent and empty. A rescue team found the ship later. The crew was gone. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Only the words "we remember" burned into every console. The story spread faster than the council could control it. Merchants whispered it in spaceports. Soldiers told it around campfires. Miners swore they saw strange lights near dead systems. Everywhere one name was whispered again: Earth. In the council hall, chaos returned. Empires blamed each other. The Valari accused the Varn. The Varn accused the humans, though none could prove they were still alive. Admiral Threx sat quietly through the shouting. He had seen too many wars, and he recognized the signs of one about to begin. He looked at the speaker and said, "You still don't understand them. Humans don't send warnings for nothing. If that message reached us, it's already too late." The speaker snapped, "Old fool, your paranoia will destroy this council before humans do." But Threx didn't reply. He just stared out the window at the stars, remembering the day he saw Earth's fleet leave the galaxy 2 centuries ago. He had never forgotten the human ambassador's words, "You'll regret this." Far from the council, deep in the shadow of an uncharted nebula, something stirred. Inside a massive shipyard hidden beneath a dying sun, human engineers walked among titanic vessels. Their armor was dark gray, their eyes sharp and cold. The walls were filled with banners, red circles with iron wings. Commander Lena Ward stood on a platform, watching the first wave of new warships come alive. Engines roared like thunder. Plasma reactors lit the skies in orange fire. A voice spoke behind her, calm, deep, and familiar. "Everything is ready." She turned. Admiral Jonas Hale, older now, his hair white, his eyes burning with the same determination, stood beside her. "Yes, sir," she said. "The fleet is prepared. 1,000 warships. Faster, stronger, smarter than anything the Council has." Admiral Hale nodded slowly. He looked out at the endless black beyond the shipyard. 200 years, he whispered. "They thought we died. They called us dangerous. They were right." Commander Ward's voice was firm. "What are your orders?" Admiral Hale's eyes narrowed. "Send the next signal. Let them know the storm is coming." Moments later, across the galaxy, the same message appeared again on every channel, every terminal, every screen. "We are awake." Ships froze mid-transit. Communications crashed. Entire worlds looked to the stars in fear. The Council tried to trace the source, but every signal came from a different point in space. There wasn't just one message. There were hundreds, thousands. It meant only one thing. Humanity was no longer hiding. In the silence of the council chamber, Admiral Threx stood and whispered to no one in particular, "The ghosts of Earth have come home." And outside, beyond the bright stars of the core, the void began to burn with distant lights, like embers of a forgotten fire, finally waking after centuries of darkness. The whispers of the lost planet were no longer whispers. They were warnings, and the galaxy had just realized humanity was back. The galaxy held its breath. For 2 centuries there had been silence from Earth. No ships, no colonies, no signals. Now, within a single hour, thousands of systems had received the same message. We are awake. It was not a threat. It was worse, a promise. Across the core worlds, panic spread like a wave. Markets crashed. Civilian fleets locked down their travel routes, and the council hall, once the center of peace, was now filled with fear. The speaker slammed his hand on the table. "Find them," he shouted. "I don't care what it costs. Track where these transmissions came from." But every trace led to nowhere. The signals came from across the galaxy, from asteroid belts, nebula clusters, even ancient satellites that hadn't worked in centuries. It was as if humanity had become part of the galaxy itself. Admiral Threx leaned forward slowly. He had seen too many wars not to recognize the signs. "This isn't random," he said quietly. "They're showing us that they're everywhere." The speaker turned toward him, angry. "You act like they're gods." Threx shook his head. "No, worse. They're humans." A few weeks later it happened. At the edge of Varn space, a massive energy surge appeared out of nowhere. Sensors screamed as a wormhole opened, an artificial one, created by technology no one in the Council had ever seen before. From the wormhole emerged the first human warship in 2 centuries. It was enormous, black and red armor, glowing like burning metal. No visible windows, no insignias except the symbol of the red circle and iron wings. Its name was carved into the side, HNS Vengeance. The ship drifted silently into the system. No lights, no signals, just silence. The Varn defense fleet, consisting of 50 ships, was ordered to intercept. Admiral Krelln of the Varn Empire watched the massive vessel on his screen. He laughed nervously. "One ship? This is humanity's big return." He gave the order. "All ships move in and surround it. Prepare to disable its engines. We'll bring it to the Council for questioning." As the fleet approached, the human ship still didn't move. Its black hull absorbed every sensor pulse like a shadow. Then suddenly, without warning, it powered up. The energy reading spiked so high that every Varn ship's sensors overloaded. "What's happening?" Krelln shouted. The lights dimmed. Alarms blared. Then a voice came over every communication channel in clear, cold English. "We asked for peace. You gave us exile. We asked for trust. You gave us fear." Krelln froze. "Who is this?" "Identify yourself." The voice ignored him. "We remember." Then everything went white. The flash lasted less than a second. When the sensors came back online, half the Varn fleet was gone. No explosions, no debris. Just gone. The remaining ships floated, their systems dead, their crews screaming over emergency channels. The Vengeance moved forward. Slow, silent, unstoppable. Krelln watched in disbelief. "What kind of weapon was that?" he whispered. A single human ship had just erased 25 warships when without firing a visible shot. Before he could react, another message appeared on his screen. "Stand down. Do not follow. This is not your war." Then the Vengeance jumped to hyperspace and vanishing without a trace. Back in the council hall, panic turned to chaos. Every empire demanded answers. The Velari blamed the humans. The Varn demanded retaliation. The smaller worlds began to talk about surrender, before a war had even begun. The speaker shouted for order, but no one listened. Finally, Admiral Threx stood. His voice was old, tired, but powerful. "Enough!" he roared. The hall fell silent. "You think this is about one ship? You fools. The humans are testing us, measuring our strength, our reactions. They want to see how we respond. And if we attack, we will not survive," the speaker sneered. Are you suggesting we bow to them? Threx's eyes narrowed. I'm suggesting we listen. Before it's too late. Far away, beyond the reach of the Council's sensors, the Vengeance joined a formation of massive vessels, hidden in the dark between stars. Hundreds of ships, each the size of a small moon. They floated in perfect silence, their engines glowing faintly red. Inside the command ship, Admiral Hale stood before a holographic display showing the galaxy. Commander Lena Ward entered the room. The test was successful, she said. The Varn fleet is gone. No survivors. Hale didn't smile. He simply looked at the hologram, a galaxy filled with the same stars that had once laughed at Earth. 2 centuries ago, he said quietly, they threw us out like trash. They called us monsters. Maybe they were right. He turned toward her. But now we decide what kind of monsters we'll be. Ward nodded. And the Council? Hale looked back at the stars. They'll see us soon enough. And when they do, they'll remember why they feared us. In the following weeks, more sightings appeared. Human ships, black, silent, unstoppable, appearing and vanishing across the galaxy. They destroyed no civilian worlds. They took no prisoners. They simply erased military fleets and disappeared again. The galaxy called them the Ghost Fleet. And for the first time in centuries, the Council realized humanity had returned, but this time they weren't looking for peace. They were preparing for war. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was afraid. Reports came from every sector. Fleets vanishing, stations burned, and defense networks going silent without warning. Each time the same symbol was left behind, a red circle with iron wings, glowing like fire. Humanity's mark. The speaker stood in the middle of the council hall, surrounded by shouting leaders from 100 worlds. They're attacking at random, one shouted. They're targeting military sites only, another corrected. No civilians. They're not conquering, they're erasing our defenses. The speaker slammed the table. Enough, we must strike back before they spread further. But Admiral Threx, standing in the shadows, spoke calmly. Strike back with what? They're using weapons we don't even understand. Every time they attack, they disappear before our ships arrive. We're fighting ghosts. The speaker turned to him sharply. You've always defended humans, Threx. Are you suggesting we just do nothing? Threx's golden eyes glowed faintly. I'm suggesting that fighting them blindly will only make it worse. They warned us before. We didn't listen. Now we're living that mistake. The speaker's voice trembled with anger. Then what do you propose? Threx sighed. Talk to them. Find out what they want. The council fell silent for a moment. The idea of talking to humans again made many sick with pride and fear. But deep inside, they all knew Threx was right. A week later, the council sent a transmission across the galaxy. It was short and formal. To the leadership of Earth, the council requests peace talks. We wish to end this conflict before more lives are lost. For 2 days, there was no reply. Then a voice came, cold and distant like a whisper through static. 2 centuries ago, you left us to die. You destroyed our colonies. You watched our world burn. Now you wish for peace? The speaker himself responded. We made mistakes, but we can start again. No, the human voice interrupted. You will end what you began. The signal cut off. No coordinates, no names, just silence. Threx looked at the speaker. You just spoke to your executioner, he said quietly. That same night, hundreds of worlds saw the sky burn. Not from meteors, not from storms, but from human ships. The Ghost Fleet had arrived. They didn't attack cities. Instead, they targeted shipyards, weapon stations, and supply centers. Every structure was hit with precise energy bursts. Gone in seconds, no trace left. The council tried to respond, but their communications jammed. Entire defense grids went offline. It was as if the humans knew every code, every frequency, every weakness. They're inside our systems, shouted one commander. They've hacked our networks. In truth, it wasn't hacking. The humans had built those systems centuries ago before being exiled. They knew exactly how to break them. On the bridge of the HNS Vengeance, Commander Lena Ward stood beside Admiral Hale as the stars lit up with explosions in the distance. Phase 1 is complete, she said. Council defenses are collapsing. Admiral Hale didn't smile. His eyes were cold, filled with quiet fury. Do not hit civilian worlds, he said firmly. This is not revenge. This is justice, Ward nodded. Understood. She turned to her crew. Begin Phase 2. Prepare for contact with the core. Back in the council hall, chaos turned to despair. Every empire was losing ships faster than they could count. Some worlds begged for surrender. Others tried to hide. The speaker sat in silence, watching holograms of burning fleets. Admiral Threx walked beside him. "This is what exile created," he said. "You made them outcasts. They became something stronger." The speaker whispered almost to himself. "They were just humans." Threx's voice grew dark. "No, not anymore." Across the galaxy, the legend of Earth spread again. Some called them the Burned Ones. Others said they were not even human anymore, but machines powered by rage and memory. On remote planets, old human allies began to rise. Small colonies that had hidden during the exile came out of the shadows, joining the returning fleets. For them, it was not war. It was homecoming. The humans fought with precision. They never wasted energy. Every strike had purpose. Every world that once betrayed them was left in ruins. Its defense systems shattered, its leaders captured. Yet every human broadcast said the same thing. "We do not come to rule. We come to remember. We come to end what was begun." In a hidden outpost on the edge of the galaxy, Raltek watched one of the battles unfold on his screen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Fleets burning in silence, worlds collapsing. The galaxy trembled. Entire fleets were gone. Stations turned to dust, and still, no one had seen a human face. The broadcasts continued, cold and deliberate. "We come to end what was begun. No demands, no negotiations. Only silence and fire." The council called an emergency session, their last attempt to understand. Admiral Threx stood at the center of the hall, surrounded by terrified leaders. He had spent decades studying human history. He'd warned them this day would come. Now he spoke the words everyone feared. "Humanity is not attacking for power," he said. "They're executing a plan 2 centuries old." The speaker turned pale. "A plan? What kind of plan survives that long?" Threx's gaze was grim, the kind written in vengeance and patience. Centuries ago, during the Great Purge, the Council had justified Earth's destruction as a security measure. They claimed humans had created weapons too dangerous to exist. That was the public story. But Threx had found the classified files, buried deep under encryption. He brought them up on the holo display. Lines of old human text scrolled across the screen. "Project Elysium," he read aloud. "Classified, Omega Black. Initiated 227 years ago. Purpose: preservation of human continuity in event of galactic collapse." The council leaders exchanged nervous glances. "What is that?" one asked. Threx zoomed in on a section of the file. It showed schematics, massive orbital rings, energy cores, and ships the size of moons. Project Elysium wasn't a weapon, Threx explained quietly. It was a refuge. A plan to preserve humanity if the galaxy turned against them. The speaker shook his head in disbelief. "You mean they knew we'd betray them?" Threx looked him dead in the eye. "They didn't trust you, and they were right." The files revealed more. When the Council's fleets bombarded Earth, a group of human leaders had already left. Hidden deep beneath the planet's crust were Elysium arcs, colossal ships designed to carry millions across the void. They had disappeared into dark space, beyond the galaxy's edge, where sensors failed and time itself felt strange. For 2 centuries, humanity had been rebuilding, not in anger, but in silence. Waiting. Far beyond the galactic rim, in the black void between galaxies, the human world known as Elysium Prime floated in darkness. From orbit, it looked like Earth reborn, oceans of silver, cities of light, and above them, rings of machinery that shimmered like halos. Inside the command citadel, Admiral Hale stood before the Elysium core, a massive structure pulsing with blue light. It wasn't just a reactor. It was a living archive. Every memory of old Earth, every name, every voice, every image of those who had perished, all preserved inside it. Lena Ward entered quietly. "The core's ready, sir. Phase 3 is complete." Hale didn't turn. He looked into the swirling light, his voice low. "Do you know why they destroyed us, Commander?" She hesitated. "Because they feared our weapons?" He shook his head slowly. "No, they feared our will. Every species they met wanted peace or power. We wanted understanding, and that scared them more than war." He stepped closer to the core. "They thought wiping us out would stop that spirit, but humans don't die that way." Back in the council hall, Threx continued reading the ancient data. He activated one final file, a message from the past. The hologram flickered, showing a young human officer speaking directly to the camera. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with sorrow. "To whoever finds this, humanity will fall, but we will rise again, not to rule, not to conquer, but to remind the stars that we existed. If you destroy us, you destroy yourselves, because everything we built, your ships, your gates, your stations, all carry our code. When we return, we'll take it all back." The message ended. Silence filled the chamber. The speaker whispered, "We used their technology. Every empire did." Threx nodded grimly. "And now, they're using it against us." Meanwhile, across the stars, the human fleets continued to advance. Every battle was fast and precise. No losses, no mercy for those who resisted. Alien commanders tried everything, new tactics, ancient weapons, desperate alliances. But nothing worked. Because the truth was simple. The galaxy was built on human hands. And now those hands had returned to reclaim it. Inside the HNS Vengeance, Admiral Hale watched as another council fleet burned out. His crew cheered, but he remained silent. Lena approached him. "Sir, we've received new data from the core. The council knows about Project Elysium." Hale exhaled slowly. "Then the time has come." He turned toward the main holoscreen. "Prepare the message. They deserve to hear the truth." Moments later, the galaxy-wide broadcast began. Every comm system, every screen, every frequency, all hijacked by a single human transmission. Admiral Hale's face appeared in silence. The humans had no emblem this time, only their flag, blue and white, behind him. "You want to know why we returned?" he began. "You destroyed our home. You erased our name. And yet you still use what we built." He paused. His eyes were calm, almost sad. "We are not here for revenge. We are here to finish what we started. The Elysium network will reset every system, every ship, every world built on our designs. The galaxy will return to zero. Then maybe it can begin again, without hate." In the council hall, alarms blared. Screens turned red. Systems began shutting down, one after another. "Power loss in every sector," shouted a technician. "We're losing control of the planetary grids." Threx realized what was happening. "They're not attacking us, they're turning everything off." The speaker screamed, "Stop it, stop it!" But there was nothing left to stop. One by one, the stars around the council core began to dim, not because they were dying, but because their light was being blocked by human ships. Thousands of them, a wall of silent fire encircling the capital world. And at its center, the Vengeance appeared, glowing red beneath the black void. Admiral Hale's final transmission echoed across the system. "This is not extinction. This is remembrance." And then, the lights went out. The galaxy was silent. Worlds that once glowed with trade and life now floated in darkness. The Elysium signal had spread everywhere, shutting down ships, stations, even planetary cores. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had stopped breathing. At the edge of the Council's capital system, the human fleet waited. 1,000 burning warships, each one glowing like a dying sun. Their formations stretched across the void, silent, perfect, and endless. In the center of it all stood the HNS Vengeance. Inside, Admiral Hale watched the holographic map flicker, red marks showing every system that had fallen silent. Commander Lena Ward stood beside him. "It's done," she said softly. Every council network is offline. Their fleets can't move. Their worlds are blind. Hale nodded, but his eyes were dark. He whispered, "Now they'll finally listen." In the Galactic Council Hall, chaos reigned. Leaders screamed orders, technicians slammed on dead consoles, and alarms flashed uselessly. Only Admiral Threx remained calm. He stared at the hologram of the human fleet, like a wall of fire closing in. "This is it," he murmured. "The end of everything we built." The Speaker of the Council turned to him, trembling. "Threx, there must be something we can do. Tell them we surrender. Tell them we'll restore Earth's seat." Threx shook his head. "You still don't understand. This isn't about the Council anymore. It's about what we became." Before the speaker could answer, the lights dimmed, and then a human face appeared on every holoscreen across the galaxy. It was Admiral Hale. "This message is for all species who once called us allies," he said. "We were cast out. You watched our world burn. You called us dangerous, unpredictable." He leaned closer, voice steady. "You were right. The silence that followed was deafening. We became what you feared, not because we wanted to, but because you forced us to survive alone. For 200 years we built in the dark. We learned that peace without respect is just obedience. So here we stand, not as your servants, not as your victims, but as humans. The flame you tried to drown now lights the sky." Then across the fleet every human ship ignited its engines. Brilliant orange fire bursting against the black. They moved as one, descending toward the council world below. From orbit, it looked like a rain of meteors. From the ground, it was the end of the world. Defensive batteries opened fire, desperate flashes of light against an unyielding storm. But the human ships didn't even slow down. One by one, they cut through the enemy lines, slicing ships in half with silent beams of pure light. Every alien commander shouted in disbelief. How are they this strong? Their ships, they shouldn't even exist. But deep inside each human warship, reactors hummed with something far older. Solar core drives powered by captured stars. The same technology the Council once banned. The same technology they destroyed Earth for creating. Back on the Vengeance, Lena watched as enemy ships fell apart like burning dust. Her voice was cold. "They never thought we'd use it." Hale replied quietly, "We didn't build it for war. We built it to live." He stared at the capital world, his reflection burning in the glass. Now, they'll see the truth. As the human fleet broke through the last line of defense, the council hall shook violently. Threx stood among the collapsing towers, smoke filling the air. He looked up at the sky, streaks of orange fire descending, and for the first time he smiled. He whispered, "We should have never sent them away." A blinding flash lit the horizon as the first human ship touched down, not with destruction, but precision. Its hull opened like a blooming flower, revealing